Data scamps and data champs. This is Richie. Welcome back to the Anthropic Age. We're going to get started in just a few moments' time. In the meantime, please do let us know where you're joining from the chat. Also, familiarize yourself with the Air Meet Q&A feature. We're going to be taking questions from you at the end. You don't need to wait to the end to ask a question. As it pops into your head, please do ask. Even if you don't have a question, you can also upvote other people's questions. So we'll be going through the top voted questions at the end. All right, let's see who we have in the chat. All right, lots of people saying hello. Irina says hello from Houston. Okay, hi Texas. Who else we got? We got Paulina from Sofia in Bulgaria. We got Corrine from Missouri. Denise from Los Angeles. Becky from Austin, Texas. Bit of a Texas crowd today. You got Lars says hi from Sweden. We got Bruce from Montreal. Ayush from Ohio. We got Sridip from Chicago. Jeff from Arizona. Angela from Atlanta. We got Ardavan from Seattle. Israel Collingham from London. Yassine from Morocco. Scott from Columbus in Ohio. Derek also from Austin. Marvin from Mexico. Christian also from Mexico. And Ali from Algeria, plus many other people. Too many to list. Great to see you all here today. All right, so let's kick things off because we've got lots to talk about. So, throughout this Anthropic Age week, we have been learning how to use all the different Anthropic tools. So, different interfaces to Claude. So, we've been going through Claude Code and Claude Cowork. So today we're going to figure out how to get them into action at work. So there's often a bit of a challenge. There are many obstacles to AI adoption at work, and not least getting the IT department to approve the use of the tool. So today we're going to figure out a lot of the steps towards AI transformation, and we're going to have a bit of a Claude twist, of course. So I've got three fantastic guests for you. First up, we have Raj Bains, who is CEO and founder at the AI-powered data preparation platform Prophecy. Welcome, Raj. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Richie. Delighted to be here. And
Absolutely.
excited to talk about Claude.
Looking forward to chatting with you. Yeah, so much going on. Raj is a software developer and big data project manager turned entrepreneur. So before he founded Prophecy, he was project manager for Apache Hive at Hortonworks. He also had stints at NVIDIA and Microsoft. Next up, we have Pratik Agrawal, who's a partner at Bain Company. Welcome, Pratik. All right. Can we try and figure out your video and audio? Let's see if it works. It was working before we started. Pratik, are you there?
Can you guys hear me?
I'll continue to introduce him while he figures out his settings. So Pratik leads the transformative work at the intersection of AI digital strategy and enterprise value creation at the management consultancy Bain. So he basically works with CEOs trying to figure out AI strategy in aviation, automotive, and mining. All right. Hopefully we'll get Pratik on camera and being able to speak before we get going. In the meantime, Betsy Kauffman is our third guest. She's the CEO and founder at the digital transformation consultant. All right, Betsy, we're also lacking video and sound for you. Let's see if we can get you live. I'm hoping this isn't an Emmy issue. I don't want to ever have to reboot everything. But in the meantime, I'll introduce Betsy completely. So Betsy helps executives navigate complex challenges like AI adoption. She's got 25 years of experience leading large-scale technology transformations across Fortune 500 companies. She now focuses on helping leadership teams close the gap between strategy and execution. She's also got a TED Talk called 4 Tips for Honest Conversations at Work. It's got over 1.6 million views. That's a pretty cool achievement. And we're still short of people. We're down to one speaker. Okay. Pratik and Betsy, I don't know whether you can hear me, but if you can turn your sound and cameras on, that'd be amazing.
Richie, can you hear me? I can hear you.
If not, I'm going to give the first question to Raj, since you're the one we can see and hear. All right. So while we're waiting for you two, Raj, what's the coolest use you've seen of Claude so far? Oh, hey,
Well,
Pratik, we can
you just
see
see
you. That's good. Nice. Okay, Raj, do you want to go on this? Yeah.
Definitely. So I think in cloud, of course, there's the areas, traditional areas that have been working well, right? You have coding, you have and within those there's frontier, right? And or you're automating work. So there's like security comes up, this comes up, but that's kind of very well known. So the other interesting things are at the intersection of workflows and at the intersection of data. So some of the interesting things that we were trying is like I'll just give like a hands-on example. We were like, oh, now we are transforming into an AI company. Let's see if we can run marketing with AI, right? And it's like, okay, here's the messaging bot, and then we are like, oh, let's connect Claude to all our marketing tools, and that has gotten everybody pumped up. Like I got the events person who was not very conversant. He didn't even know 4 months back what Cloud Code was. He does physical events. And now he's showing up with like, here is my list. Here is the demographic analysis. This is the right message to send back to them. We did that. So seeing lots and lots of interesting things. And it's at the edge because some things like I myself tried, I'm like, let me get a bunch of lists and connect to demographics. So I connected Cloud Code. How do I connect to my uh, HubSpot? Let me connect with C data. You start to join data and it blows up. You're like, okay, now I want to change marketing and turn on events, and it starts to blow. So these are cases where it's like I'm so excited, and it's like just at the cutting edge. Some things work, some don't, but lots of exciting use cases across the company, at least for us.
Wonderful. So yeah, I love those use cases. Just because I can see everyone now, which is wonderful. I think there's a little technical issue with their meet. So great to have a full panel of people I can see in here. Anyway, so Raj, yeah, you were saying that basically you've been working through like basically automating like tons of your marketing functionality, and I guess that's one of the big
Yes.
fun things is being able to like generate new business without having to have people do work. It sounds magical. All right. Okay. So next up, yeah, I think you all need to answer this one. So we were talking about what are the coolest use cases you've seen for Claude. Pratik, do you want to go next?
Yeah, happy to. I think one of the most interesting things that I've seen is going from just ideation and going to from ideation to a proof has just been cut down in terms of time, in terms of effort. It's fantastic for teams that don't really have the technical capabilities, who do rely on technical teams to really short circuit that and bypass that essentially initially. There's no shortcut for actual technical development. I'd still maintain that, but I think going from a concept stage to actually getting business leaders aligned, it is phenomenal there, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of traction.
Absolutely, like going from just I've got this idea in my head to like we've got a proof of concept or we've got like something that we can see and try and align around. That's an amazing time saver. I love that.
Exactly.
Um, all right, Betsy, talk us through
Yeah.
your cool use cases.
Oh gosh, I think to Pratik's point, it's really about ideation and just speeding up how fast we can think and how fast we can ideate. So I would say, actually, just earlier this week, I was mapping out a workflow. Someone recorded it, we had transcribed it, and it literally put together an entire workflow for us and is building it in less than a day of what we're trying to speed up into how to implement the different ways of working for us. So just super cool, just how fast it allows you to think. And the other thing I love about it, I'm probably more of an end user, but I just love the prompts and the questions, right? So it really asks some amazing questions that you're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I'm not sure. And so that has been just phenomenal. And then into a personal note, real quick, my son actually used it to build his final for his finance project. So he's really bad at PowerPoint and presentations, and so he had all the data. He uploaded it, and it made the most amazing presentation for him that he was able to use and get the data, making sure the data is right. But it was phenomenal and just sped it up so fast because he was dreading doing that part of it. So just so much speed of thinking, I think, and speed of work has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to do things faster, but also like no one loves using PowerPoint. I think it's like creating presentations, so
Necessary
automating that
evil.
away. I think I don't know, Pratik. I mean, I guess I'm sure Bain's like a pretty heavy like presentation creator. That's got to be a big impact for you, I would think. But
I
yeah,
thought as much. That
have doing it now. Having things semi-automated and making things look pretty more easily. That's a wonderful thing. All right, now on a company level, there've been a lot of announcements from CEOs about being AI first, AI ready, like doing absolutely everything possible with AI. Have you seen any examples of companies where they have like really pushed the boundaries and they've had a success? Like, does this actually work? This concept of being AI first. We should be a little bit. So let's go Pratik next.
So there are probably a very few companies that are actually completely AI first. I'd say mostly what I have seen are AI pilots that are still ongoing. I think AI enablement, but not necessarily how do you track a complete improvement and ROI on that investment. So nothing that has scaled to that effect as yet. So yeah, pockets. I'd say definitely pockets. The companies have to definitely do a lot more around understanding where the applicability of AI is, rather than go with AI first. So like hammer, how you have the hammer, you're looking for the nail. Don't use that approach. I think define the problem and then approach it. So that's where I'd see like the AI first taking more root versus the other way around.
Okay, yeah. So if you say we're going to use AI for absolutely everything, then it's like it,
Yeah.
it feels like overkill in some sense, rather than if we think of what's the
Yeah,
business problem we're trying to solve, and then how does AI fit into that, you can have a bit more impact and success. Hopefully, anyway.
absolutely.
uh, all right, Betsy, is that what you've seen, or have you seen any companies where they've had real successes?
I think I've seen exactly what Pratik is speaking about. And one of the challenges that I'm seeing in these larger enterprises is people are excited. They love the tools. It's super cool. And so they're trying all these different tools out there. But we need to kind of stop and say, like, what's the business problem that we're trying to solve for? And so I think when we're starting to see that, we're starting to see like, okay, if we could solve for this, how do we speed up our work, or how do we use it to solve a business problem? What's the outcome that we want to achieve? But not a wide scale thing. It's really just starting to get out there, and people are getting excited about it, and it's which is good. And they're also kind of going rogue a little bit, so we're seeing a lot of rogue happening in some of these larger companies. And so that's kind of the thing that I think leaders are trying to figure out, is how do we enable it and how do we encourage it, but also how do we kind of put some guardrails around it.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can go full force, but you can need some guardrails. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a
Mhm.
disaster at some point, probably in your very near future. So yeah, that just seems like an important thing. I think we'll have to come back to guardrails later on because it is such an
Yeah, we'll come back.
important topic.
That's not the fun stuff, I know.
Yeah. All right. Super. Raj, examples of companies where they've had a big success.
So I feel like there is a split. Like the enterprises, yes, it's like we're going to be AI first. Anytime you say there's a new project, there's a new headcount, like can't you do it with AI? So there's a little bit of that stance change. People are trying to get more usage, token maxing, things like that. But a lot of the effort is going to be like changing the existing workflows, right? And that's tricky. But where the frontier of this is startups, right? So for example, and I'll give a very concrete examples because we are like very hands-on startup, right? So at I gave an example of marketing, right? Now we've even for messaging, for demand generation, we have two Claude bots running, right? But then we had annual operating plan for our company size is a very complex spreadsheet, and we need to run a bunch of what if analysis, especially as we were trying to restructure some of the roles. And it's like it takes forever to go through finance, right? It's like we've got very good people, but now we are doing first layer is talking to AI and saying, hey, if I wanted to merge these two teams, pre-sales and post-sales, etc. And this so the first simulation I run through that, and then we go back and say, once we are like, oh, we kind of like this, can you make this what if analysis more solid? Then I go to the finance team, right? So that's kind of the second thing, is like where the first cut I can take myself, and then get a more refined thing. And then one last thing at least is the roles are changing, right? So now it's like the marketing team is around bots, right? And but also, like, do we have pre-sales, post-sales engineers? We sell into the enterprise, and we are like, oh, let's just merge them all into forward deployed engineers, right? What's the product manager versus AI developer role, right? Because a lot of times in AI, you are um, uh, it's not just the AI, but you're also innovating on the interface, right? You have to come up with new interface of how AI versus UI works. So now we have like product engineers who are like in the field vibe coding with the user and trying a few different interfaces out, and then coming back and saying this is what we need to put into production. So it changes the structure of the organization for a startup like us, right? So in that sense, right? So I would say the startups, I can see a lot of the leading edge companies, startups are AI first, and enterprises will take some time.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree that there's two separate problems here. So if you're a startup, you want to kind of think about how do you do different organizational designs, build stuff in an AI native way, so doing everything from scratch, and it's probably going to be a bit different. Like you mentioned, the idea that you got like the forward deployed engineer, I think, is a cool new role that's only just sort of popped up. We'll probably get into that later. And then if you're a big enterprise, it's like, well, how do I change the existing stuff? I guess carefully and one piece at a time. All right. So let's talk about who needs to be involved in this. So it feels like there are a ton of like almost everyone can make use of AI, but how do you organize the program? So which kind of teams or roles need to be involved in this kind of transformation to make sure that you can adopt Claude or these other AI tools? All right. So who's not? Betsy, you've not gone first yet. So we get you talking again.
Yeah, so I actually think it needs to start with the leadership team, where the leadership team understands what is that we're trying to solve for. What is AI? Why is it important to us? What are the outcomes that we're looking for? I also think that it needs to come from a business standpoint. I know technology is, the enabler, right? And they have a lot of the great thinking, but getting the business involved and getting them excited about what we can actually produce and the outcomes is going to be, I think, critical to having the right people at the table. So with any type of transformation or any type of technology change, it's really ensuring that we know what problems that we're trying to solve for and that we've got those folks sitting at the table, and we leverage all of our amazing technology partners to help us do that and to bring us the right tools and the right talent to achieve our goals. So maybe a little bit different. It might be a little bit, some folks are like, it's a technology thing and we got to get all of our technology folks and a technology leader and an AI leader in that space. And I think we do. I think you need champions in both, partnering together and really understanding what we're trying to solve for as a collective group.
Okay, so I like the idea that you need some kind of technology leader, but you also need like some business leader as well to make sure that you are actually solving business problems with the technology. Okay, so I guess related to this, then, there's been like a rise of like this chief AI officer role. Is that
Yeah.
something you need? Like, do you need a committee? Like, what's the organizational structure that's going to make these two kind of business and technology leaders speak to each other? Pratik, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a pretty cross-functional role. If I were to think about it, is somebody who is has been a business operator as well as a technical operator to act as a translator. I mean, as Betsy alluded to it, it starts from the top. It starts with the business problem. It starts with whether are you trying to solve a growth-related question, or are you trying to solve a cost-related question? And somebody who can translate that into technology and lay down sort of like the map of where do you go next. I think that's where the role of a chief AI officer would be fantastic and important, is to translate it. Up until now, it's been mostly technical organizations who do have like they have their own P&L and etc. But what's the tie-in to the ROI? I think that's an important question to answer, and I think that's where this role becomes very fundamental.
Okay, yeah. So I like the idea that you can have like a fairly cross-functional role because I mean, there's a lot of different components to this, right? Because you have got the technology side of things, but you've also got the how do you organize all the different teams that want to use different tools and things like that. So yeah, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of chatting from one team to another, still aligning lots of different teams going
Mhm.
on. Okay, all right. So suppose we've got this sort of plan of action. We've got some people in charge of an initiative. I want to know how you go about implementing this, and usually the technology is the easiest part to implement. So let's talk about the tech stack. So where does Claude and these other anthropic tools, where does it fit into a broader tech stack? Raj, do you want to take this one?
Sure. And there's two different solutions, right? And so when you say tech stack, there is one context is you're buying a product, right, which has AI inside it, or you're building a product. The second is I'm doing it in an enterprise. So at least what makes sense to me intuitively. So let's say, we as Prophecy, right, we help people build data workflows and then vertical specific solutions on that. And in that world, Cloud Code is integrated into the heart of our product. right? So when you say where is it in the stack, it is the reasoning layer of our product. The user types a prompt. You have, at the heart is Claude Code. You're giving it all the data context, right? It has, and you're giving it a bunch of tools. So to be able to, write the right code, then generate the right visual workflows so it can give the right answer. You're also giving it domain skills, right? If I'm working with somebody in structured finance, there's AI skills that we are giving it, right? So when you are at the product, and it could be the same in Excel, right? If you have an AI agent sitting at the heart of Excel, it's got to understand all the Excel primitives and be able to work with the product. So that's one thing, right? There's, all these products are going to have an AI agent sitting at the heart as the business layer, but then integrated with everything else. The second thing is, if I'm an enterprise and I have something that is specific to me, right? This is my business. This what makes my enterprise unique, and your enterprise is different. Now I should build this in house, right? And in that, I might have an agent that's sitting and talking to a lot. It is the business layer, but it's sitting on top of system of record. It might be pulling something from my marketing system, from my Salesforce, from there, and doing something specific, right? That's where you should spin up an internal effort. But in that sense, with, Claude is the layer which is given tools to pull data from everywhere. Then it is the workflow layer on top of that, and then it's doing something specific to your business, right? So in that sense, it's sitting outside of all these products, and providing a uniform layer specific to your business. So these are the kind of two patterns that we are seeing of how Claude is getting integrated. I mean, apart from the coding use case, right? That's kind of unique.
Okay, yeah. So you got like the three different things. You either use Claude uh, within an application, or it's used to connect other applications together between them, or I guess there's the coding stuff where it's like build your own application. Nice.
Well,
Okay. Uh,
yes.
all right. Just make sure I got that right. Yeah. So I love that you got those distinct use cases, and you need to think about it in different ways. Okay. So from there, oh, I had a good question. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about like changing technology. So today, I mean, this whole week we've been talking about Claude because it is the hottest technology around. But at the start of the year, the hottest technology was it was all the Google models with Gemini. A few months before that, it was all the OpenAI stuff, ChatGPT and the like. And it just keeps changing every few months. So how do you have a sensible technology strategy that accounts for I might have to change my tech stack every 3 months to keep up with the latest tools. I mean, I don't even know if whether that's a sensible idea or not. Okay, so, Betsy, do you wanna go first on this? Like,
Oh
how do
gosh.
you deal with this rapid change? Oh, sorry. If you don't feel free to punt it or if
I
you
might have to
don't want
punt this to
to.
Raj or Pratik, my more technologists. But I think real quickly, change management is the biggest challenge with any of these, regardless of the tooling and the technology. And I was just speaking with the CIO of a very large insurance company yesterday, and she said, she's like, I need help getting the change management figured out because there's so many things in like the people need to be supported in whatever effort we're putting in. So, if we're not, technology aside, there's just a very, very large change management component that we've got to think through. But I'm going to punt the actual how to keep up with the tech stack to my fellow panelists here. Because I
Alright.
don't know the
Okay,
answer for
so,
that. So
yeah,
I'm going to say, I don't know. As a
or
consultant, I'm like, yeah, that's where I get smarter people than me to handle this one.
alright. So, in that case, Raj, do you wanna talk about, like, the
Sure.
technology implementation stuff? And then maybe Pratik, you can talk about, some of the strategic aspects to, change management.
Sounds good. So in terms of technology, like if you're looking narrowly at technology, most of the innovation is going to be at applying AI models to your business workflows, to your business data. So now let's say that I'm inside a business and I'm building something. Yes, I'm using the AI model, but I'm giving the AI context. I'm giving it tools and and access to my other systems. Perhaps I'm reimagining interfaces of how I'm going to work with that. Now, if the model gets twice as good next year, none of this changes, right? So I think that's a good question to ask yourself the minute you start building this, that hey, if the model gets twice as good next year, would I not need any of this? And usually what we are finding is that all the scaffolding you need, right? And there's a lot of focus on building agents and harnesses, right? A lot of the engineering right now is going into agents, into harnesses, and the integration with your business workflows, and that doesn't change all that much. But the key question is, if the model gets twice as good next year, would you still need all of that? What we are finding is most of the stuff we work on, we'll still need that. So in that sense, that if you're in that lane, you're free and clear.
Okay, so really,
Also,
you just want to make sure you can swap out the model, and a lot of the rest of the stack is maybe moving a bit slower, and so you can keep a lot of it. You don't have to like burn everything down every 3 months and just completely rebuild everything. So that
Yeah.
sounds like a slightly easier problem, which is pleasant. All right, Pratik, do you have any further advice on like how do you go about like managing change in this way?
no, I think I just want to add to like Betsy's point, the fact that change management is the biggest issue. Tech has never been a big problem or a big hurdle. I think it's fantastic that we've got tech supporting and enabling. I think the how I see and how we typically see things are like 10% of the problem is around algorithms and AI, 20% is your tech stack, 70% of the work is actually change management, is affecting process change. And that tends to be a very gnarly problem. So regardless of the technology changing behind the scenes, I think that big piece of work that still needs to be done, that's something that you cannot shy away from. And so tech we can adapt to, we can build the scaffolding. To Raj's point, ultimately, build the scaffolding and remove the pieces, do whatever chess plays you want to do. I think as models continue improving, it does in terms of long-term enablement, long-term ROI. You do need that change management piece, and so I think firms do need to start thinking about more about that.
Okay, so you mentioned that changing processes is the hard part, and I'm glad to agree with you that. Do you want to continue your thought and like what tips do you have uh, for changing processes in a sensible way?
I'll give you a very tactical example. We think about demand forecasting as something that everyone should be doing, and if you're not doing, there's an issue. Well, the best demand forecast can be laid to rest if there's a breakdown in communication in how your teams operate. I actually worked with a firm where one of the clients essentially was doing their own forecasting, even though there was demand forecasting that was 90% accurate to a certain extent. But when they started building production plans, they hosted everything on their own laptop and deleted those plans on a weekly basis. And so now that's a change management problem. That is not a tech problem. The demand forecasting was there. AI could have helped us create. Claude would have helped us create an amazing sort of demand forecasting algorithm. But did that actually translate into any action? I think that was the breakage point. So the communication gaps that tend to exist, how do you overcome those? How do you spot those? That tends to be a challenge.
So I
Definitely.
have
Oh,
an
go on.
interesting example there, Richie, if I may. So we were so again, I'll give our example because again we are working with enterprise and the customers care a lot about change management, right? So we are coming from that point of view. So in this case, we are in data prep and analysis space. So you're building visual workflows to get the data ready, and line of businesses use it a lot. Now in that, right? So we said, oh, let's go, replace the data prep products of the previous generation. Say I show up, not as just as an example, let's say I go to Alteryx users and they are used to building visual workflows, and I'm coming in and saying, okay, now how do I get these users to my product with change management, right? So the first thing is, okay, they are now, our product is agent first. You talk to the agents, but the agents actually generate the visual workflows that look very much like Alteryx workflows, so the users are familiar with that. They said, and they need trust, and they need to go in there, and if the product is 90% there, they need to be able to make a few edits to get it 100% there. And so the change management required giving them a familiar interface, right? But the change is that instead of that being the primary interface, that's what's generated, and they use it for validation and some refinement. So that was part one of change management. Part two is we are like, oh, how are they going to move? They have these thousands of workflows sitting there. We are like, oh, we need an import button. So we're like, here's an import button that rewrites your old visual workflow into this new visual workflow. Okay, so it's like, okay, do I have change management for the assets you've created, all the business logic you've created over the last 15 years? Do I have a change management plan for your users and their skill sets? And yes, they can do the exact same thing, or they can over time move more and more to agentic automation. So I think that is kind of what it the how change management can be done on a in a real product.
That feels
Can I
like a
speak up
cool
here?
sort of
Oh, sorry.
behavioral science trick, right? Just making sure that you got the same interfaces before, but you got like a bit more magic going on in the background. So gradual change. All right, Betsy, you had some more ideas there.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that. So I think it's also being very transparent with what you're trying to accomplish with the AI implementation. So the people side of it is, is this actually safe for me, right? Are you trying to get rid of me and get rid of my job? Am I going to adopt it? Am I going to start using these products, or am I going to actually like resist it? Because if I use it or I show folks how to do my job and they can automate it, I'm no longer going to have a job. So there's a whole piece when it comes to that change management is how do we stay very transparent in what we're trying to intend to do? And so if we are intent to, I hate to say this, minimize our workforce, right? We might actually have to be somewhat transparent with that. And so, what is the goal of AI is going to be really critical for leaders and for companies to say, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And we might have a reduction in force, or we're going to try to actually improve your working. And so we're spending more time on the more strategic and the more, not as complex things like the data crunching, and really about how do we drive the strategy of where we're going. And so I think that is where leaders have to help with that change management side of it, is from the human side of it, if you're going to want adoption and user acceptance.
Yeah, definitely. If you're automating stuff and there's a goal to get rid of you at the end of it, then you're naturally going to be like, well, not sure I want to work on this
How do
project.
we use it
So
right,
yeah,
right away? Yeah,
yeah. So the sometimes going to be some very tricky conversations, like
it
from
is.
leadership, and I guess throughout the business about like, well, what are we doing? Especially if like the goal is automation and cost cutting.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's got to be done delicately, I think. There.
It does. Mhm.
All right, I'd like to spend a bit more time talking about like how you increase AI adoption. And so it seems like this change management is one part of this. Are there any other ideas around like how do you get to that state where everybody is comfortable using AI? And I think it's probably worth all of you answering this. Pratik, do you want to go next? You've not spoken in a while.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing where it's not just enabling everyone with AI tools where everyone's excited about the cool new shiny toy, but rather get them oriented towards building something that is going to have some constructive utilization at some point. And I think it is what's your strategy? How do you start? What use cases are you going to tackle first? What does that pipeline look like? Identifying people who are going to be champions initially, who will help with the adoption curve, and not adoption with have Claude write my email or have Claude create my slides, but
Right.
more around how do you think about creating things, um, and whether that's automation or whether that's like on the growth aspect of things. It's just starting with that framework where firms can do better, and I think that's where I've seen traction. People start becoming more excited about this. They've also upskilled themselves from their day-to-day jobs. So AI is not replacing their job today. It is essentially like now they've been given more powers, I'd say, to do more. And I've seen them stepping into more product roles. So going from completely technical roles to now becoming more product focused, which is fantastic, which is fascinating because they understand they have the technical depth. They've been given exposure to business, and they are able to actually lead the product build for a specific use case. So that's where I've seen adoption go really well.
Definitely. I'm just sort of talking about before where AI is just used to cut costs and like reduce the headcount or whatever. That seems like a failure of imagination sometimes on the part of management. So I like the idea that you can empower your workers and say, okay, well, go and build something cool and we can grow. And that's a much more positive story, I think, in general. All right. Raj, do you have any more tips for AI adoption?
So I think what we are seeing as a pattern, right? So one would be like if you were in the cost, let's say you are in a customer success kind of place where you're just answering question, like that's purely a cost thing. What we are seeing is, for example, you go into and we are working with say some users in structured finance, right? They're bundling mortgages. They have to, all these mortgages are coming from like so many different banks. They're messy. That data needs to be cleaned. AI can automate that. You see the same in auditing, right? So somebody's going to come in and dump Coca-Cola. I mean, it's going to dump their books and say, audit this. So I'm just saying, like within each job, there are tasks which are so manual and very spreadsheet heavy or old desktop tool heavy. And it's not, so the reaction we are seeing is not, hey, let's cut the cost. The reaction we are seeing is like, hey, we are so overwhelmed by this manual work that if a lot of these tasks, so first, jobs are not getting automated, at least that's not what we are seeing. Tasks for certain jobs are getting automated, and then the business leader says, you know what, let's say you're doing an auditing, right? Or auditing, you can say, hey, I can offer more services to my customer, I can give them a solution faster. But now that a lot of the time is freed up, there were all these things that I couldn't get to, right? If you look at us, right, we're a software development org, like there's a big roadmap and we are struggling to meet that, right? If we got more power, what would we do, right? Fire people or say, hey guys, let's ship more features and get more business. So I think that's what we are seeing, at least. And that's probably because we are seeing working with the business line of business teams, and they can just get more revenue, and we are not seeing. So yes, the tasks get automated, but it's like Richie, you said, it would be a failure of imagination if it were all cost cutting. There's so much more business to be had.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's so many teams I always find they've got like years worth of like roadmap and like things you want to build, but you never quite get round to it. All those things that you're like, maybe I could do this one day, but you don't. And then now you've got the power to clear some of that backlog. I love that. Betsy, did you want to add anything onto this?
I think
Just around increasing
AI
adoption.
adoption. Yeah. I mean, it's really about people thinking about like, how could I have done my job before having this? Right. So when you start to solve their problems, to Raj's point, when you start to put in the right tooling and speed up a lot of their manual or data or complex tasks that took them forever, and they're actually able to do more and do different things. I think, and they're now thinking of new ways like, oh wait, can it do this and can it do that? And I think starting to get that excitement around it, and making it safe for people to put it out there and ask questions, and having champions within all the different lines of business and business units you're gonna start to get that kind of swell and that excitement across the organization, what you're looking for.
I do love that idea of making use of champions, because you're always going to find like
Mm.
some people are very enthusiastic and some people are not so much. And if you
Right.
show the cool stuff that the people who are enthusiastic are doing, then it's going to give inspiration to everyone else. All right, wonderful. Now, there were loads of things we discussed near the start that we were going to come back to, so I want to get to some of those before we run out of time. So actually, one of the things was Raj, you talked about token maxing. Can you tell me what is token maxing and is it a good idea?
I think it's very interesting. Token maxing, I think it's a tactic, and I've got to see like what's the rationale behind it, right? Day to day, let's say we are shipping some features and everybody's focused on that, and then people are not perhaps in their day-to-day time getting time to step back and say, hey, how would I rethink what I'm doing, right? So it seems like a tactic to say, like, if we do this for a while, right, and we say, hey, everybody do token maxing, it's like, okay, then everybody's got to go back and think how much of the current workflow that I have can be automated away, right? If I do this, okay, if I had infinite tokens, maybe I'd get to this and this. So I think it's a great way, to have a bottoms up way of having existing organizations rethink their existing processes, because that's where most of the efficiency is going to come from. So it's a tactic. I don't know how successful it is,
Mhm.
but I see the rationale of it, right? It's like, go crazy, what could you do? Because we are learning what we can do, right? And it's not obvious.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, the idea here is like you have a leaderboard or something, so you're competing to see who can like burn the most tokens. And yeah, we're back to the idea of process reengineering is kind of hard, and you've got to take the time out to stop what you're doing and think, how can I do this in a different way? And then spend some time learning how to do it, and you might be less productive to begin with. So, I like the idea of having a leaderboard to make sure that you are putting effort into process reengineering. I'm not sure that like who can burn the most tokens is necessarily the best metric for like, are we doing well with AI or not?
Be careful of the behavior
Okay,
that
yeah,
you're trying to measure, right? So what is the behavior that it's producing that you're trying to measure? Is it producing the right behavior, or is it just, let me see what I can max out and where I can be at the leaderboard? And to Raj's point, it's kind
Yeah.
of, it's both. Like it's thinking, yeah, we want creativity, we want people to really try it, but then are they trying it just to be at the leaderboard, or are we actually using it for good?
absolutely. Okay, so I guess the other side of things is like, uh, it's probably mostly a chief finance officer thing, but like there's a lot of people complaining about the cost of AI. Like certainly once
Mm.
you start getting into like, I'm going to build everything with this agentic AI, you can easily spend like tens of thousands of dollars per employee per month. We've seen
Mhm.
examples of like people racking up, in fact, a lot more than that, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of like compute in a month, and that's going to cause some problems for many businesses. So, how do you deal with trying to increase AI adoption usage, but also trying to do it in a way that is cost efficient? So, how do you where should you worry about costs? All right, again, it's been a while since you've talked, so we'll get you talking again.
Maybe like just adding to both Raj and Betsy's points around this is like, this is a grassroots level sort of experimentation. Great, you're maxing out tokens, but the fact that what is actually born out of it is higher costs. How do you go move with intention? It does start with a strategy, and the strategy does have to come with what's the goal going forward for the firm. Whether that has to be set by the leaders, the leadership, what the market is, where does the firm see itself in a year's time. I think you start with that strategy. Start building out basically the construct of what are the guardrails. I'd say not guardrails for cybersecurity, but more guardrails around what should folks be looking at in terms of their experimentation. Because yeah, you're right. Like technology, you'd end up spending a lot, and I have seen firms where they started out with a fantastic use case. It got them a ton of value. Then they sort of opened the sort of kimono to everyone to go ahead and start using AI in general, and their costs ballooned to an astronomical figure. So now they're trying to pare it all back, and trying to put the guardrails around this experimentation. So I think it is critical on how you get started and where you get started. But everyone should be able to play with AI, and how much should they be able to play is like that's probably what every firm needs to figure out.
Okay, yeah. So I guess this is back to like standard project management techniques. Just like think about like how much money or what's the goal of the project and how much money might
Mhm.
make off it, and that's going to give you an idea of how much you want to spend on it in the first place. So you're not just burning $100,000 of tokens to get $10,000 in value. Nice. All right. Oh, the other thing we were going to talk about was guardrails. So Betsy, before you were talking
Oh
about like
God.
the importance of guardrails to increase
Right.
AI adoption, what sort
Yeah.
of guardrails do you need?
Well, I think, again, one of the companies or one of the clients that I have right now, they have a lot of folks that are excited about it, and they're actually downloading all these different tools on like their phone and their devices that are maybe not corporate approved, and they're trying out and experimenting. However, they are taking potentially corporate data and putting it on their phone and putting it out into the universe. And so they haven't really thought about, what are the standards, what are the security that we want around it. If you are going to experiment, you need to do it on your own device that's been approved. It's in our own environment, things of that nature. So we love the excitement and the energy around it, but we've got to actually say, what are some of the rules around data, PHI? I work with insurance, healthcare, and insurance companies, and so that's huge. And if we are not careful with putting those out right now at this point, we're going to see even larger data breaches than we've maybe seen in the past because folks are they're trying to experiment, they're having fun, and they're doing new things, and they are exposing some data that is company specific out into the universe, and they're not being careful with it. So that's at least one of it. One of the guardrails that I would recommend is just put some rules and regulations. And I know I hate that word because we do want folks to have fun and get excited about it, but we also have to tell them how to use it to the best use to protect us as a company so that we aren't having those breaches.
Yeah, you don't want someone setting up a bot to like post user data on social media. That like
Take the
worst case
patient
scenario.
record, take the patient record and
Yeah.
transcribe it and read it back to me, right? I mean, that's, but we're not thinking about those like ramification repercussions because we're trying to find these new tools that can actually speed up our job and our work.
Yeah. So I do like the idea of thinking very carefully about like particularly sensitive data, what the agents have access to. Or
Mhm.
I think this guardrails are important. If I'm going to get the other two of you to speak as well. Raj, tell me what guardrails do you think should be in place?
So I think I'll speak to the previous one and the guardrails again. So one, I see this as like a contraction expansion thing, which is basically, it also happens with companies. The economy is booming. Let's go make more money. And we go figure out how to get new revenue. It's like, oh my God, we hit a recession. Now you figured out how to get more revenue, but now you want to do it more efficiently. It's like, oh, let's do cost cutting, right? And then there's a boom and there's a bust, and that, so we get more revenue, we optimize. We get more revenue, we optimize. Similarly with this, right? You have to explore new use cases, and then you're going to find a few useful ones, and in those ones you really invest. But then the guardrails piece, it's trickier with agents, right? It's trickier when you're giving a lot of power and autonomy to agents. But for most business users, right, if you have, maybe you get your account from, like, you have Cloud Enterprise, or you get it through your cloud provider, and that AI connection gives you a very well regulated, controlled, like, something your organization is happy with. So you're happy sharing data with the model. So in that sense, if it's you are working with your model, then you're fine, right? It's only when you start automating tasks, giving access to computer, that you get into trouble. And those ones are probably the ones where guardrails are more important. But if you look at, the a lot of the business people, or the business teams, they are probably not running agents on their laptops with 20 different tools. So it's the IT, or the software teams, that need to have more of the guardrails. The business teams are mostly going to do one-on-one with models, and they can go have fun, right?
Okay, that's interesting. I guess, yeah, the more complicated the bit of software you're creating, the more time you need to spend about, like, what are the guardrails? How do I test this
Yeah.
properly? That kind of thing. So I guess, yeah, the test surface area sort of increases exponentially the more tools you're hooking up to it. Okay. All right. Pratik, anything to add on guardrails and how you avoid having these AI disasters?
Well, I think having a human in the loop,
Mhm.
having sort of a governance company, like we probably don't like those words, but the fact is that you do want them. Questioning what you're actually seeing coming from Claude or from any AI tool that you're using today, just because, don't take it for the word that it's giving you, but rather start applying what you know about your own enterprise, about your own processes, about what your function is, and then seeing with that lens, it's like, does this actually pass the sniff test? So that's one. And then secondly, depending on what kind of exposure, what you're building, I will have to, like, is it direct customers? Is it in critical functions? Really putting the tight bounds on what decisions are being driven from such AI. I think that becomes more critical in terms of guardrail. And like the medical field, hospital systems, airlines. How are they using in maybe non-critical functions? It's fine, but critical functions, you do need to start bringing the human in the loop.
Absolutely, yeah. Having some kind of human review system does seem very useful. Although it's hard work when, like, you got everyone like producing more stuff with AI assistance, and then if you just got like a human just reviewing vast amounts of AI slop, it's a tricky job for sure. But yeah, I do like the idea of, like, making sure that you do have that kind of human oversight somewhere there, like human accountability for content. All right, before we go to audience questions, any final advice? Let's go around again. Raj, any final advice?
Any final advice?
I mean, probably related to, like, usage of AI. Keep it vaguely on topic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you are into usage of AI. It's like, no, you use AI. I think the job loss narrative is overblown. It's like, go use AI, become the best, most AI enabled person in your organization, right? And if you're doing that, getting superpowers, I think that's the way to go. So for everybody, it's like, that's what I'd say. I'm personally doing it, right? Working on agents, like, everybody's got to do that. Become the most AI powered person in the organization. So that's a good goal.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, I was just like, just get started and, like, actually try stuff. That's a great start. But then, like, oh gosh, competing against your colleagues to be the most AI powered person. I mean, that's like, it's a challenge, but I think it's going to keep you employed for sure. Nice. Okay. Betsy, final advice.
Ooh. I think AI is everybody's um, opportunity in the company. And so it's not just a technology opportunity, it's actually a company opportunity. And leaders need to drive the change, and everybody at that leadership at the C-suite level needs to be involved and understand what we're trying to do, and help to set the vision in order to enable it across the enterprise. And I think when we can get that kind of alignment at the top, it'll actually, the adoption will start to trickle down.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
my
So homework for any leaders in the audience then: figure out what you want, align with your colleagues, and
come
then maybe
together and
the adoption's going to be easier.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to colleagues always the hardest part of
Right.
business. All right. Wonderful. And Pratik, the final advice.
I think just building on both Betsy and Raj's comments, don't let don't let urgency become sort of an excuse for poor alignment. Where things failed in transformations are essentially, strategy, clarity, process design. These are critical failure points for an AI transformation. There's no shortcut for process, data governance. Those key aspects need to be actually understood, regardless of how quickly you want to move. And every delay will have a compounding effect on what actually happens with the organization.
Yeah, there's definitely a case of like you can do some things a lot faster, but if you just rush everything, then because there's a lot of panic about like fear of missing out, being left behind because everyone's doing cool stuff. My LinkedIn feed is full of that. Everyone's like, I'm doing amazing things. But yeah, if you do stuff too fast, then you're gonna break things. More haste, less speed. That I think that's the old saying. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. All right, wonderful. So we're gonna go to audience questions in a moment. For that, some announcements. So tomorrow we've got the final session in the Anthropic Age sessions. We're going to go into depth on making use of Claude skills, and then we've got a 2-week webinar series from next week and the following week on agents in the enterprise, so less Claude focused, but more general agent stuff. We've got a really nice session on Monday on making use of Open Claude, which is like the new hot technology, and then make use of the on-screen link to sign up for that if you're not already. All right, so let's see what we got. So Nikhil asks, do you think the cost of associated with using AI will cross the benefit of using AI, especially with limited token and high costing memory? So I guess is AI going to get more expensive, or yeah? It's slightly hard to read this one. Do you think the changing costs of AI are going to affect usage? Like, are we going to worry about costs more, or are we just going to be like, okay, AI's got cheaper and we're going to use lots more of it? Anyone who wants to take this? Raj,
Okay,
you
I
want
can
to
take
talk?
that. So I think what you're realizing, right? So let's understand this dynamic structurally. Right. First is if you look at revenue, right? Just so let's say there is, again, I'm going to talk in the context of data. There is data storage, there is data processing, and then there is human labor, right? And if you look at Databricks, Snowflakes, the great amazing companies built over the last few years, they took 15 years to get to say 4 billion in revenue. And ballpark numbers, they could be off, right? A little bit. Last month, Claude added 6 billion in revenue, right? What's basically doing is like, if you're uh, competing with like optimizing the software, making it go a little bit faster, you're trying to go for that small number. If you have a person who's getting paid 150K, 200K, a data analyst or thing, and that person is becoming more productive, you're adding tens of thousands of value in that chunk, right? So basically the point being that because you are working with human labor, the most expensive part of the economy, right, and you're making them more productive, etc., the wealth there to be created or optimized, or new wealth to be created is enormous, right? So just saying that because it goes and works with human labor, the TAM is so massive that your tokens are going to not matter, and they're getting cheaper every year, right? So it's just like you start adopting it right now. You might have a temporary bump going up, but then you're going to be just fine. So I would not worry that much about cost.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you're automating like these high value careers. So I guess that's why like software development has been targeted as like a use case for AI because software developers is expensive. Same with lawyers, like there's all these legal AIs going on. Lawyers are incredibly expensive employees, so lots of value to be had there. You can spend a fortune on the tech, and it's nothing compared to their salaries. Okay, but I guess yeah, automating customer service is a slightly different story. The employees are a bit cheaper there. All right. So going to depend on which team you're trying to automate, I suppose. All right. So, this one's from Val's a good one about how do you reconcile the need for AI governance with the desire of early adopters in the enterprise to move as quickly as possible? I mean, there's an age-old story like regulation and governance versus going fast. Are the two things mutually exclusive, or can you figure this out? Again, anyone?
Pratik, I'll let you take it first pass and I'll add to it. How about that?
It's like
Well,
punch it down.
it's a hard one. It's hard. Like, go ahead.
No, all good. I think it's a great question. How do you, with early adoption, early sort of experimentation, um, I think the tricky part tends to be is if you go provide essentially like AI to everyone, you end up with more of a rudderless operation. There's no direction, no sense of direction. But I think if you, as an organization, know generally where you want to be, and that's probably been the theme that I've been speaking to most, is if you've got the strategy, you provide the guardrails, you provide the construct for teams to go and experiment. Even in that, you'd be surprised, pleasantly surprised, is like, how much can be done today with just Claude. I mean, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, in fact, probably wouldn't have been able to do that because it would have taken an entire day of workshopping and whiteboarding. Today, probably a single individual on your team can come up with 10 ideas, of which maybe at least 2 or 3 are going to be fantastic by the end of this first day itself, maybe the first few hours. And so I think it's providing the construct. It's not limiting them, but it is just providing them the right bounds.
I would
Okay,
agree
I
with
like the idea of like we're back to guardrails and having some kind of bounds on there. Sorry, Betsy, carry on.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think companies already have, their security protocols and employees know what's expected and what's allowed and what's not. And so, go ahead and learn and experiment and have a good time, but make sure you understand that we're still going to keep within the bounds of what we've already created, and that we need to be careful with how we are using data and how we are using our tools. But it's like that fine balance between the both of them, right? And so I think if you have those rules out there and you're already established, I would allow it. Go ahead and do it. Have fun.
Absolutely, I love the idea of have fun. It's a good message from both things. Actually, I do have a take on this because I just read a book called "The Ethical Nightmare Challenge" by Reed Blackman. She's got a Data Frame podcast episode coming out next month.
Mhm.
But his idea is like anytime you start an AI project, you just have a discussion about what is the worst thing that could possibly happen. What is your business nightmare? And you figure out ways to avoid that. And that's like a good start, and it's quick, and you don't need a whole committee. You just like figure out, well, how do we avoid the biggest disasters? And that's going to get you most of the way there, I think. So you have to either buy his book or listen to Data Frame next month, and we'll figure it if you want to know more. All right. I think we've got time for one more question. We've got 3 minutes left. So Ray says, Claude Mythos, so that's the latest model from Anthropic. This is all about cybersecurity and basically trying to avoid cyber attacks. The Mythos code base was leaked on Discord. It's really scary how this could now be used in bad hands. Can we trust using Claude Enterprise from a security standpoint? I'm not sure who wants to take this. Raj, would you trust Claude? Oh, you're just muted at the moment. Raj, can you unmute?
Oops, I
There
don't
we
know
go.
why I muted.
All right,
Okay,
let's
sorry
try
about
again.
that. Yeah, so this even if the source code leaked, like you can't reproduce much from the source code itself, right? So that's there. The other thing is there is going to be occasional leaks, but very few of them, I think, and they're going to harden more and more over time. I remember when nobody was willing to go to the cloud because it was too dangerous, right? So there's going to be a few teething pains, but it's going to mostly go away. But that said, there a lot of dollars rely on Claude and OpenAI being, not messing up enterprise data. And so I expect them to, in their own self-interest and in the self-interest of the investors who put in hundreds of billions of dollars to take care of the enterprise security. So I don't know, not as worried about that piece. If you're dealing with them and maybe you're going through with your cloud provider, there's going to be adequate checks on your personal instance, working with the model. So yeah, so my take is not as worried about security. I think it's something you should be concerned about, but it'll get fixed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity is going to get kind of rough because of AI attacks on things like it's very
Oh yeah.
difficult. It can be difficult for IT teams to keep up. But that's kind of a separate issue. I think with the
Yeah,
Mythos
yeah. I
code
think
base,
the,
it's
the
like
Mythos code base getting that and implications of Claude, I'm saying not as much worried, but
yeah,
the fact that there's probably tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of security bugs out there in the wild, and they cannot be patched fast enough. I think that part is a very, that's a whole different problem. And even if Claude gives everybody the access to Mythos like they've done, and it's going to take a year for people to fix all these bugs. So I think there's going to be AI fighting on both sides. It's just like you can't get the patches in fast enough, so that might be a little bit of rough time till AI patches the code bases. So that would be, yeah, that's a little scary.
absolutely. I feel like we probably need a whole session on cybersecurity in the future. I'll put that on the to-do list. All right. With that, we are at time. So thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you so much, Pratik. Thanks, obviously, Raj. Really great discussion. I felt like we could have chatted for a little longer. That was fun stuff. All right. Thank you to everyone in the audience who asked a question. Thank you to everyone who showed up today. I will see you all again soon. All right. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Thank you.